Do not adjust your digital device. What you are about to see and hear may shock and appall you. Join our hosts as they encounter countless thrills, spills, chills, and hilarity as they explore the very weirdest in pop culture. The following media is so strange, so beyond the scope of what is normal, it will make you ask the question, why does this exist? Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Why Does This Exist? I'm Chris.
And I'm Rob.
And, we are so sorry. It has been a while since we put up some episodes. And just as we hit, wouldn't you know it, just as we hit our 100th subscriber, Mother Nature decides to be a real hoe bag. And just snowstorms all over the place, just tearing down power lines, just cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. Nothing we could really do about it. We just had a whole lot of life situations and the weather itself. So now, hopefully, we can come to you with a more steady schedule. But of course, I am going away for the next week, so I will be in Colombia doing very illegal activities with my cousin who is getting married. And by illegal, I mean watching him get married. Apparently, it's illegal to watch someone get married in Colombia. But we're gonna do it anyway.
Oh.
While drinking the finest coffee beans in the world, or so they say. I've heard Hawaii's coffee is better, but I have never been to Hawaii, and
Burundi has the best coffee.
Burundi, where is
that
Burundi?
I've ever tried. Africa.
Oh well, I never really wanted to go there, but I guess I have to now.
I don't think you would want to go to Burundi specifically. I'm pretty sure it's like one of those places that's not so good, like Somalia.
Oh, so it's just the coffee.
But they have good coffee.
Well, I guess that's something.
Yeah.
Well, good for them. I suppose the Burundians, the Solomon Burundis. I don't know what you call
Solomon Burundi.
I don't know what you call them.
Solomon Burundi want pants too.
Well, I hope they have pants there.
Well, it's Africa. They might not.
Well, that's a shame. At least they've got their coffee.
Well, they have like clothes, I'm sure. But they might wear like skirts or robes or togas or whatever, some shit like that.
Oh, skirts, robes, and togas are nice.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of customization options on those.
Or maybe they just don't wear pants because,
Maybe they don't.
Why wouldn't you why, if you could have the choice to not wear pants, why would you?
No, exactly that. I would not. I'm not wearing pants now, and I have a choice.
Great.
Yes, it is wonderful. I'm free.
And it's the choice of a new generation.
All right, so if you don't know what we are Why Does This Exist? We're a podcast that talks about the very weirdest in pop culture, whether it is music like we are about to do and take you on a journey on, or a weird TV show like we did a couple of weeks ago, or just anything in between, movies, music, and all that jive. Occasionally we get some other weird stuff like products and, whatever. If you have an idea, you can let us know, and, we can let you in the Discord server if you give us money, and we'll also just hang out and we can talk. Maybe we'll get you on an episode. But, yeah. So, that is what we are here to do. Today, we are going to be talking about a fine subject. We are going to be talking about music again. We're going to be talking about Viking metal, because
yes.
who doesn't love Vikings and also metal, and why wouldn't you put them together? Just seems like a no-brainer.
Yes.
But yeah, that's our usual spiel. If you want all the links and all the other things, that's going to be at the bottom of wherever it is that you are listening to this show. That's the news. Here's the weather. You are now about to witness the true strength of street knowledge from a ragtag group of rogues, so let's get on with the goddamn show. talk about the Viking metal to the good
All right.
people of wherever they're from, the good Burundians,
Burundians.
the good Solomon Burundians listening on the other side of the world,
They want
who
pants too.
they do want pants too, and they also should have Viking metal.
Yeah. Uh,
Speaking of people with skirts,
that's true. Vikings did. Well, would they be considered skirts or like tunics or something? I don't
I
know.
I don't know.
I'm not an
You'd have
expert in medieval clothing.
you'd have to ask a medieval clothing expert or
Yep.
a fashionista in Middle Earth.
Well, they definitely wore armor. That's for sure.
Hmm.
Anyway, Viking metal. I think we touched a little bit on Viking metal when we did our black metal episode, if I remember correctly, because obviously you can't talk about Viking metal without talking about the first Viking metal band, arguably, which of course is Bathory,
Yes.
which also happened to be one of the big three of the first black metal bands.
Yep.
So, uh, and probably the one that actually Bathory was revolutionary in a number of ways, not only because they were the original big three black metal band that started that sound that is commonly associated with black metal, but they also Bathory started the sound that's commonly associated with Viking metal. Also, they
Yes.
were the pioneer of Viking metal. Now, for those who are, not intelligent enough to realize what Viking metal is, it is a metal subgenre of metal that combines, obviously, black and thrash metal with some more traditional Norwegian sounds and
Yep.
lyrics dealing with Norse paganism and Viking raids and that stuff, that the like.
So there's a folk element involved in there too, which is kind of
Yes.
neat. That's the part that I like is that the music, it's not black metal, it's not death metal, and it's not folk metal, but it's kind of all three of those things into like this weird hodgepodge.
Yes. And so obviously, if we'll talk about Bathory a little bit. Bathory was started. I think we had again talked about Bathory on our black metal episode, but we're gonna come back around to Bathory because we
But
have to.
that was long ago.
It was a long time ago, and also you can't talk about Viking metal without talking about Bathory. So of course, Bathory was formed in '83 by Quorthon, aka Thomas Bjorje Forsberg. And again, Bathory started out as a black metal band. And, of course, it was the first, I want to say their first two albums were more in that. Or three, yeah, because Under the Sign of the Black Mark was also very much a black metal album. So it wasn't until 1988's Blood, Fire, Death where we got more of the Viking metal sound. Now,
Which is the best driving music ever. The best
yes,
ever. It's the best questing music.
yeah. And as we had mentioned on the black metal episode, black metal tends to be like very fast, very high tempo, like also, high pitched vocals, low quality of recording. And you could kind of see the transition on Blood, Fire, Death. I would argue, even though Blood, Fire, Death is probably the first that had the Viking influences, that Hammerheart was really the true first Viking metal album that was purely Viking metal, because Blood, Fire, Death still had those black metal influences. So what's the difference between Viking metal and black metal, you may ask? Well,
What's the difference between Viking metal and black metal?
Viking metal, and this is clearly seen from the transition from Blood, Fire, Death to Hammerheart. The tempos were way slowed down. Production quality went up a little bit. Quorthon's vocals changed. They weren't as high pitched and screechy and screamy as black metals are. They were, more clear to understand. And also song lengths increased dramatically.
Yes.
Hammerheart, I'll just go through some of the songs. Shores in Flames, the first track, 11 minutes long. Valhalla, second track, 9 minutes, 33 seconds. One Road to Asa Bay, 909. So quite long songs. And in fact, I don't know if I should tell this story on the podcast, but maybe I will.
What the hell? No
Our,
one's
our,
gonna know.
our good
No one,
friend,
no one listens to this.
that's true. Our good friend Japan Nick, who we've been on his radio show numerous times when we were still our band Zamboni and Nuclear Hatred. He obviously, so he had a radio show, and it was WMSC, which was Montclair State University's student radio, and he once told us that whenever he had to let's go to the bathroom for a number two, he would throw on One Road to Asa Bay because it was like the perfect length. So if he ever had to take a bathroom break, he would throw on One Road to Asa Bay and go do what he had to do. And by the time he got back, it was like perfect timing. He was back and able to continue his show.
Well, I remember when he did that, it was timed perfectly. He
Yes.
got in as the song was ending.
Yes, Nick was definitely
It was as if
a
nothing
man
happened.
of habit, and he could really
Yes.
like perfectly time his bathroom breaks and seamlessly move back into his show. So, and it, you know, it really was, it was the perfect timing. But anyway,
You gotta be jealous of a man who can control his sphincter like that.
So
What else can he do?
That's a good question.
What can't he do if he can control his sphincter like that? A man who knows the exact length of time of his bathroom breaks.
Yeah.
You don't give him any power. He might run the world.
So I didn't know this, but apparently the song One Road to Asa Bay, as you know, we'll go into this a little bit. The song lyrically is about the Christianization of Scandinavia and how, you know, the Christians came in and this is actually real history. The Christianization of Scandinavia was actually a direct result of the Viking raids.
Really?
Yeah. So they've actually recently, a few years ago, archaeologists kind of like pieced this together, but Christianization in Scandinavia began because Christian Europe, you know, so England and what was England at the time, which I don't think was even called England. It was, you know, it was just like a mishmash of various kingdoms. And mainland Europe were constantly getting raided by the Vikings in the early Middle Ages. And so in order to stop that, the idea was brought up, I guess, to, you know, send missionaries to Scandinavia to convert the Viking people to Christianity. I guess because they figured if the Scandinavians were also Christians, they would be more hesitant to raid and attack mainland Europe and England. So that was the plan, and that's what they did. And the song One Road to Asa Bay basically documents that. And apparently, from what I've read, is that so Quorthon dedicated the song to C. Dean Anderson, who was an American writer, and had the pseudonym of Asa Drake. And obviously, you know, that's where the name One Road to Asa Bay came from. But the music itself, you know, like besides One Road to Asa Bay, it's all about like the, you know, history sung from the point of view of Vikings, and you know, it kind of almost tells a story. You know, One Road to Asa Bay being the last track on the album, you know, and Shores in Flame being the first track. It's almost like, you know, the Viking sagas basically, you know, where Shores in Flame starts, and it tells about, you know, the Viking raids. And then you have Valhalla, which is about obviously the, you know, the Odin's hall where warriors went when they died, and their spirits go to Valhalla, where they eat and drink all night and then go and fight all day, and they're resurrected. It was basically the Norse pagan equivalent of heaven, essentially.
Yes.
Um, but the album kind of tells the story of like the golden age of Vikings all the way down to the end of the Viking age, which was the Christianization of Scandinavia. And actually that took a long time, because the Vikings were very much like entrenched in their belief system. And we had talked about Christianization of Europe in our Santa Claus episode a little
Yes.
bit.
It all goes
um
back to the pagans, really.
yeah. Uh, but I think the Vikings specifically were one of the last people to be converted to Christianity, because they were so staunch in their beliefs. And
Well,
even to this day in Iceland, Iceland is the only place where there is a modern church temple to Odin in the
that's
world.
awesome.
Yeah. So that influence continues to this day, and I think Viking metal has really kind of spurned a renewed interest in Viking history, especially from metalheads, but also I think in general there's this renewed interest in Norse paganism, and I believe it's called heathenism now, is the what they call the modern paganism
Huh.
practices.
Interesting. Um, well, speaking of paganism, there is also another Viking metal group where it starts to splinter a little bit into the folky. So you kind of have two different areas of the Viking metal where it either becomes a little bit more death metal-y,
Hmm.
where you've got more of your Amon Amarths, your enslaved and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
they kind of take the bathory path. But there's another band from Germany called Falkenbach,
Hmm.
where they've been around since '89, and they are still going to this day. Actually, their main member is Vratast Vakias, whose real name is Marcus Tumors, and he was born in Germany, lived in Iceland in the late '80s, and this is where the whole Falkenbach stuff kind of starts to come in.
Hmm.
But they are incredibly they're very heavy, and they get folky at different points in the music, and they can keep it going throughout the same song. And the other cool thing about Viking metal is they'll use not only complex arrangements, but they'll also incorporate a lot of different folk instruments into it.
Hmm. Hmm.
You get more or less, um, depending on which path the band ends up splintering towards. If they go towards the Falkenbach way, you get more of the folky metal stuff and pagan metal, where you get like Korpiklani and stuff like that,
Yeah.
where there's people who are playing hurdy-gurdies and a
Yeah.
lot of Joss harp and things like that. Or you have people, but if they end up going the black metal route and they end up taking the bathory path, the bathory, if you will, they there's more keyboards that you'll end up hearing. So it's a really interesting way where you can kind of see two distinct but awesome Viking metal bands, and you could
Hmm.
see exactly where it's similar to the to that to that big metal documentary that came out a long time ago, where
Which
they're
one?
I know I forget what the hell it's called, but it was the best one, which is
Was
sad
it
that I
the one with that guy who was like like an anthropology major in college, and he did a whole like series on every metal genre?
yes, that guy.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. I know what you're talking about now. I can't
It's
remember
on
what
the
the name
tip
of
of
it
my
was.
tongue, and I forget what it is. Hopefully, we remember it by the end of this episode.
Yeah.
But his theory is that metal starts from bands either taking the Black Sabbath route or the Led Zeppelin route.
Uh-huh.
And Led Zeppelin, you end up getting more of your power metal stuff, or anything that's a little bit on the lighter side. Anything on the darker side, like thrash metal or death metal, eventually just kind of stems from Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
So it's almost a similar way where you can get these two that come from here. But then,
Mhm.
of course, they have very different. They have a lot of children as far as bands go and genres because the Falkenbach way, because they both intersect in pagan metal in some way,
Yeah.
but you will still see a little bit more distinction.
Mhm.
So Falkenbach, I just found out about them as we were researching this, and oh my god, they do not get enough credit. They're what an unbelievable band.
Yeah.
Just pick an album, I don't care, any album, and it's the best album.
Mhm.
But yeah, extreme talent going in both directions. But I would say that Falkenbach, and people are not going to like me for this, but I think musically Falkenbach is superior because they have so much going on. And the other thing
Yeah.
is there's a lot of layering in Viking metal, like meaning just layered tracks. There's a lot going on, and
Mhm.
you really have to put on some really high quality headphones just in the middle of the night and just basically like what Gall does in that same documentary
Yeah.
where he has the cup of wine and he just holds it and just goes Satan and then he drinks it. You kind of have to just be in that in your little I guess your
Metal
Gall.
Headbanger's Journey. I just
Yes.
remembered it.
Yes, that's the one. Yes, good job. Thank you. High
I,
five.
I don't know how I remembered that, but it just came into my brain. Sam Dunn
Yes.
was the guy. He is an anthropologist and documentary filmmaker, but also a heavy metal musician. So that's why he did Headbangers Metal Headbangers Journey, and it was basically there was like he did all these different genres of metal.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know how that just came into my head, but there it is.
Well, I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, you get these two bands that they splinter off, and and you get these two Viking metal bands, and they end up splintering off into different paths. But there's a lot of layering in the music, and you sit down in your gall chair, I guess, with your wine and your Satan worshiping and all that stuff. You get in your Satan worshiping chair, and you sit down with your goblet and you put on some great headphones and you really crank this Viking metal and
Hmm.
you just experience all of the different layers and all the different instruments going on in this.
Yeah.
And what a crazy beautiful sound.
There's actually in the film actually like has a really good flow chart of metal
Yes, it
and
does.
all the different like subgenres and where they stem from and how like where it came from and all that. And so you can actually see I think Viking metal is on there because you have the first wave of black metal, uh which also leads to grindcore, which leads to also Norwegian black metal and then death metal. And I was pretty sure that there was a thing of Viking metal on here, but maybe I'm thinking of something else.
I don't know. I mean, I would say that Viking metal just stems well, on that flow chart, it would probably come from black metal.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, especially first wave black metal, which obviously bathory which we spoke of.
Right.
Celtic Frost. I don't think they would be considered black
No,
metal
Celtic
necessarily,
Frost. I
or
wouldn't call
Viking metal necessarily, but
No, I wouldn't say that they were I wouldn't say that they were Viking metal.
no. Um, I guess we could like, going off of your point, with bands that different bands had different influences, because then you have like Amon Amarth,
Right, which
which is the
is
other
probably
big.
well, I would say they're probably the most famous.
They're probably the most well known
Yeah, they're the most
Bathory unfortunately died with Quorthon,
yes.
um, and Amon Amarth still plays to this day.
Yes, I saw them once, maybe a decade it's gotta be a decade ago now,
Yes,
but the
yeah, I saw
venue
them
the
actually.
venue the venue was so it was a great show, but the venue was so damn packed that and I couldn't see a whole lot, so after a while, I just kinda left about 2/3 of the way through because everybody in front of me was tall. So, and I couldn't get anywhere except the balcony.
Oh
So,
yeah,
a balcony plus tall people where you can't even watch the TV monitor.
Yeah, that's
You're just
brutal.
like, I can hear it and it's beautiful, but I can't see a goddamn thing. So I'm just gonna watch this on YouTube tomorrow. I
Yeah,
got I got to see my one. I got to see my Twilight of the Thunder God, so I didn't care.
yeah.
Look, they, as far as I was concerned, good. They played what I wanted to hear. I got to see them play it, and then all the tall people showed up and ruined my day. So
You know what's
I just
funny?
went home.
Well, I was reading about it too. Is Amon Amarth
But
prefers not to be called Viking metal, even though they're like the definitive Viking metal band. They prefer to be called melodic death metal. Uh,
well, that's nice.
yeah, I don't think. Yeah, exactly. I don't think you can really choose what you want to be. Um, it's just whatever your sound is, and literally every single one of their albums is like related to Norse mythology or Vikings in some way.
Right. You've kind of painted yourself into quite the corner.
Yeah. It's like Robert De Niro saying he doesn't prefer to play mafia roles or
Okay.
something like
Well,
that.
yeah, but then continues to play mafia roles. You
Exactly.
can't.
Or Joe Pesci, like
Yeah, you can't have it both ways.
yeah. Um so I saw them. I thought you were at the show, but maybe I was wrong. It was the best Mayhem Fest there ever was. And there was
No,
never a good late Mayhem Fest after that, and there was never one this good before it. And it was
no, I wasn't there.
okay, that sucks because it was amazing. That was the one that Huntress played on. So I saw Huntress.
No, I was at the one after.
Yeah, that sucks because you missed the best one.
I know.
Huntress played. I saw Children of Bodom. They played. I
Oh wow.
saw. I think Machine Head played, but I don't really care about Machine Head that much. They were kind of boring.
Machine Head played the year that I went to. I think they played a few years in a
They
row.
play. Yeah, they played a lot. Machine Head was like a staple of Mayhem Fest.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think with me it was Machine Head and In Flames, and then
yeah,
um
I think I went to that year
Crow,
too.
yeah, it was Crowbar, and then it was Megadeth and Disturbed,
Yes.
and we wanted to leave after the third Disturbed song because they just they had nothing but pyro because you could tell that they hated each other.
Yeah.
So,
I
and I think they broke up after that tour. I mean,
Yeah,
I
they did.
believe I believe that they've gotten back together, but they broke up or went on a break for a while because they were just, and you could just see how mad they were at each other.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was
Oh yeah,
Children of
because then
Bodom.
because we couldn't leave because Roberto wanted to see the sickness,
Oh,
and we
that's
were
right.
all and we were yelling at him
Didn't it start
because
to rain too?
yeah, because it started to rain. That was the
That
other
was
thing. It
that
started
was
to
the
rain.
time we were driving home on the parkway, and we did eventually drag him away. I remember we left early because we got ahead of the traffic and we were on the way, but it was like pouring by the time we got onto the parkway.
Yeah,
And remember there was like a lightning strike and something blew up in the distance. Do you remember that? And we were like, "Holy shit, what the fuck was
I do
that?"
remember that. Oh
That
my
yeah,
goodness.
that was crazy. I don't know why
Yeah.
Roberto was like so obsessed with seeing like Disturbed. I mean, Disturbed
He
are
wanted
okay, but like
he wanted to see it because it reminded him of his teenage years.
yeah,
He his thing he just wanted to see them because it reminded him of being in middle school or something when he first got into metal. So he had
yeah,
that high and he wanted to experience it, which I get it.
yeah.
But
I don't remember
but
who I went to that Amon Amarth one with. Ian was there. I met him there, but I don't know if I actually went with somebody that time, or might have
you may
just
have,
gone by myself and
you
then met
may
and like I
have.
just met up with Ian.
Yeah, you might have. I don't know. But I wasn't at
Anyway,
that one. I would have liked to have been.
so that lineup was amazing, and then so that was like the side stages. Then main stage you had Mastodon,
Oh,
um,
that's awesome.
Gojira,
Oh wow.
Amon Amarth, who were fucking amazing. So that was like worth it. All that, and then Five Finger Death Punch, which I didn't give a shit about. I was like, whatever, fuck off. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really like them. I don't. Yeah. So I was like, whatever. And then the headliner was Rob Zombie.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was a really amazing Mayhem Fest.
Yeah.
And there was never one that was that good ever again.
No, I mean they only did 2 or 3 more after that.
Yeah, which was sad because Mayhem Fest was a cool festival, even though they didn't always have the great lineup. They always had a couple of bands that were worth seeing, and it was cheap too. Like if you got like grass tickets at PNC Bank, it was only like $40 or $45.
Yeah, it
You
was
know
worth seeing the few bands that you liked, even if you didn't like
exactly.
the whole lineup.
Yeah.
I remember people. Well, I had spoken to Toxic Holocaust about this once, about the Mayhem Fest, and they were kind of their thought about it was just, well, good riddance, kind of, because apparently it was not a good idea for bands to even
Yes. It,
sign up. Like you were
it was
operating.
shitty for bands. Yeah.
Yeah, they were operating at a loss, like a
Yeah.
huge, and bands operate at a loss to begin with. We've
Yeah.
talked about that extensively, and I'm sure we'll continue to talk about that. But that was one of those where a lot of big, these seemingly big multi-band tours, like a Mayhem Fest sort of thing, where there's
Mhm.
20 bands or something of that nature. A, at least the US ones, the band, it's the issue that I keep seeing, and I heard that this was the case with Ozfest too, for a lot of the smaller bands, where you have to pay your way on. So one you one your whoever your manager or label is gets you in talks to get on this show, to get on this tour, but then the band has to fork over money to be on the tour
Yeah.
to help pay for the headliners, and
Yes.
which is a totally backwards thing. It's basically a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, no, Jill from Huntress talked about this after that Mayhem Fest, how it really was like not good for them because not only did they have to pay to be on the tour, they also had to cart around all their own shit, obviously. They had to buy like rent their own bus or buy their own bus for it, like a van. They,
Yep,
they weren't provided any transportation. I don't even think they were like provided like food or water. They had to like buy their own food and water. Like they
that's
didn't even have
insane.
like drink tickets or anything. Like it was like really, really
Yeah.
shitty.
Yeah, Joel Grind was telling me the same thing.
Yeah. It Mayhem Fest, and we have talked about this like ad nauseum on this podcast of how shitty the music industry became over the 2010s,
Yeah.
and how it became so exploitive to all of this. Basically, if you
Yes.
weren't Metallica or Megadeth, or, Big Four level, you were basically getting fucked. And
Yeah. Like I've probably told this story before, but I was interning at Earache Records when we first started Zamboni and had the awful Zamboni demo,
oh my
and
god, yeah,
and I gave it to them and we listened to it, and somebody, and I forget who it was, but somebody there just was like, "Hey, thanks for the coaster."
yeah,
And after that, I think we started selling them as coasters that you could
yeah.
listen to. But it but anyway, so I was doing my regular responsibilities that day, and and there was a contract that I had to get over to some band to sign or whatever, and I looked at it and I read it, and I'm not a lawyer or anything, and I certainly wasn't a very good lawyer at 19. So, but as I'm reading over the contract, I'm just looking at it, and I just said, "Hey, do you mind just answering a couple of questions for me?" And I just kind of picked their brains about it, and I was like, "What does this mean? What is that? What is this clause? And what what do you mean it's an option? It's a 3 album deal, but it's an option for 3, but they're guaranteed 1. How does this work?" And they're explaining the breakdowns and the payment structures and everything of that. And that was kind of the day where I decided I don't think I ever want to get signed to a record label.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can if you have the ability to record an album without involvement of a label, you're better off. Like if you could scrape up some money together to rent a studio, or if you know somebody that has a studio, or if somebody in your band knows how to do recording, you're better off doing that because record labels will screw you. And we live in a world now where the democratization of music is like it's like becomes so easy, because really, if you make a small investment, and I'm talking like not like $100, but you spend like $2,500, let's say, you could buy a friggin' laptop with Logic or Pro Tools on it, and and basically for like a $3,000 investment, you could be ready to like fully record whatever you need to record. You
Yeah,
get some cheap
just
microphones and stuff, and
I mean, you just get yourself a good little interface, and
yeah.
you plug in, and you do everything.
Yeah, and even if
Just
like
learn the
if you
just
not want
learn
to
the
use
software.
if you don't want to use even like an advanced software they have to pay for, like Pro Tools or Logic, you could friggin' download Audacity and make some pretty damn good recordings with just that.
Yeah, or
And
just work in GarageBand, and
yep,
then you make friends with a sound guy or something, or go on Reddit and ask just ask around, "Hey, what does anybody here do this genre of music? Can
yeah,
How much would it be for you to just mix and master my album?"
yep,
And there you go, save a bunch of money by doing that.
yeah. And then
And
there's
the other
distribution that you could pay like to get it on Spotify and all the major platforms. So it's not like crazy expensive to do that.
Yeah, and there's
So
also a ton of PR. There's also a ton of PR firms for whatever genre that you do. So
yep,
you just get in touch with them, and they just send all the stuff out,
yeah,
and they'll just go direct to you. It's a very small investment.
yep,
So you could just run if you do choose to treat music like a business and run it as such, you could still be okay. Like
yeah.
it might not be your you might not be doing it full time, but you'd still get something out of it.
I was watching an interview with Cancer Slug once, and they still like do the old school like when they're on the road. If they get a hotel room, they just like set up like an assembly line and make their own T-shirts, press buttons, make hats, whatever they have to do right there in
That's
the hotel
awesome.
room. Yeah, and they'll go to like a dollar store or Walmart and just buy like a whole bunch of cheap T-shirts and then just like like screen press them right in the hotel room and make their own merch.
That's
So,
friggin' great.
it's like you could
Yeah.
literally every level of being a band you could do on your own now. So that's like the one good thing. And like, yeah, you're not going to get big. You're not going to be huge and be playing like, Giant Stadium or MetLife or whatever, or Yankee Stadium or anything like that. But like, you could put your music out there and your art out there and make some money on it. And yeah, you're not going to be rich off of it, but you could still do it, without having to deal with the bullshit that comes with being signed to a major label.
Yeah. And I mean, look at Lich King too. Lich King is
Yeah,
another band where they grew everything organically, just
yep,
through social media and word of mouth and forums and things like that.
yeah,
And they have this whole they have this whole successful business today, still many years later. Um, another just and the other thing, I saw this the other day. The other thing is, and extends to this extends to publishing, and also even to acting and things and entertainment and any creative field now. The people who are running these big publications and labels, I was watching an interview with a record label executive, and he basically said that they don't know how to do their jobs. They don't know how to
no,
market anything. So everybody is relying on on you to do the work of building the social media presence and building the following,
yeah,
because you've already done the work, and then they're going to take just about 90% of your money
yep,
after you've already done the work. And we've said this how with promoters and how promoters will do this. This is that times a million.
yeah,
And it stretches to, just like I said, other areas of entertainment and creative fields and book publishing and things like that, where you could just do it all by you really can just do it all by yourself because they don't want to put in the time or effort to actually do what they're supposed to do. They just want to
No.
make all the money off of you and put you on and say, "Oh, you're on this big platform. We gave you a big platform." But it's like getting signed it's like being a big wrestler and
Yeah.
getting signed to AEW and AEW never uses you for 3 years.
Yeah.
It's being Ricky Starks basically, who is now on NXT, and he's probably going to kick ass and become a major sensation in WWE. At least I
Yeah.
hope. MJF, I understand he was taking the money, but he really should have just went the other way. Because
Yeah.
why is he fighting Jeff Jarrett? No one
I'm
wants
sure
to
he will
see.
eventually. Yeah, I'm sure he will eventually. I don't. When
He
his
will.
contract comes again, I'm sure he's not going to renew. He'll probably go to WWE.
No, he has to. I mean, he's still a young guy, but anyway, let's get back to the paganism with this Viking stuff.
Yeah.
We've gone off track for a bit, but we're bringing it back with the paganism. So, like we said, Amon Amarth being well, it's Amon Amarth enslaved, and there are many other bands, and that's more of the main Viking metal bands.
Hmm.
We then get down to you then get down to the more folk metal bands of the or folky Viking bands, I guess you could say like Toyr, who they're they tend to go a little bit more like the Who, if you want to check out that episode where they use traditional music and instruments in their albums too. So um so Tyr is they're Faroese, so they end up taking a lot of the Faroese ballads and inspirations, and they use odd time signatures, and they even go with they'll even use very specific scales to that nation, and you'll also see sea shanties being pulled in here as well. So
Yeah.
another way that you would another area where it's kind of a fringe of Viking metal is the pirate metal, and that had
Yeah.
there was a small movement of that in the early 2010s, but you don't really see too much of it anymore. I
It's
think
still. I mean, Ailstorm is still playing. They're still going.
I was gonna say there were only a couple that were really still going, and Ailstorm
Yeah.
is one of them, probably the best one in my opinion.
Yeah, they are. Well, they're definitely have had the most success of any of the pirate metal bands. Uh, Swashbuckle was pretty popular at one point too. I don't know if they're still playing though. Um,
I'm
but
not sure.
I have a funny story about Swashbuckle and Ailstorm. So I saw Ailstorm live. Actually, it was actually a really interesting night because it was a number of folk metal bands. There was another one called uh, Fintroll, and
Oh,
they were
Fintroll is playing with Corporate Clonny soon. I'm probably gonna go to that.
they were a Finnish folk metal band and used traditional Finnish instruments
Oh,
in addition to electric
Unleashed is
guitars and
another
stuff.
one, by the way. Unleashed is another one that also
Oh,
plays the death metal stuff of the
um,
Viking stuff.
so it was them. I forget what Skywind or Skyhawk, or I don't remember what
I,
the other band was. And then of course there was Ailstorm. And so this is the first time I saw Ailstorm. They were playing this little bar called Mexicali Live in Teaneck, New Jersey, and I don't even know if that bar exists anymore. To be honest, I haven't been
wasn't
there
that
in
the
many years.
wasn't that
Uh,
the place on top of the meat locker?
no, 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 no.
Oh no,
This was
That's Mexicali Rose. Never mind.
yeah. This was called Mexicali Live. It was in Teaneck, New Jersey, not Montclair. And
Okay,
I saw DRI there too once, and that was a really cool show.
nice.
Anyway, so uh, Ailstorm came on, and the guys from Swashbuckle were there. And they pulled a table right up to the stage, and this was like a venue where like the stage there was no barrier, you could like literally go right onto the stage. So
Huh,
they pulled a table up to the stage and were playing Magic the Gathering during Ailstorm's whole set right in
that's
front of them.
awesome.
It was hilarious, and it was just great. And you know, you had mentioned sea shanties. Like you go to Ailstorm show, it is like you're like everybody in the crowd is like swaying and singing and holding a like freaking mug of beer up like you're in a tavern in in the Bahamas in 1703. You know, it was amazing.
I
Um,
wish I got to see that.
I actually wrote a paper on that show because we're doing like I had like a history of music class at the time, and so I wrote my paper on folk metal and you know it was we were doing a unit I believe on like folk music. So I wrote my paper on folk metal and used that show as my like real world experience of seeing it.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Did you get an A?
I think so. I got a good
Huh.
grade on it.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
At least it didn't go for nothing, and you learned something that day.
Yeah.
I'm
Uh,
I'm not
but
really sure what you learned, but you learned something.
the whole like uh just it felt like you were in this tavern and stuff. And Amada Marth does this too, where they have the rowing instead of having a mosh pit, they have a rowing pit where like everybody sits on the ground in line, perfectly in line, and rows to the beat of the music.
Huh.
And I don't know if you've ever seen this. They didn't do it live or at least I didn't see it when I saw Monomarth at Mayhem Fest. But that's because it's an outdoor venue and they had like the amphitheater with the seats, so there's no like general admission area. I don't know if you saw this when you saw them, but
No, I couldn't see the floor of the venue.
yeah. So this apparently happens all the time at Amon Amarth shows, where everyone they just it's to the point where now they will actually like uh start the row chants up on stage to get people to start doing it. To like row. So it's like you're in the bowels of a long ship going to like raid some faraway land.
Oh, that's awesome. Wait,
Yeah.
I'm watching. I just found a clip of this. Let me see how cool
Yes.
this is. Oh, get the fuck out of here! That is so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I need to see them again and
I,
stay
it's
for the full friggin' set because I'll be able to see everything. Yeah, this is so cool.
yeah. I want to see him on Amarth again and do the rowing.
Yeah, I would love to see I would love to be part of this. It seems like the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, my favorite part is honest. This sparked my interest in a lot of Viking mythology and Norse mythology as well, and it made me want to research a lot more just Norse gods and paganism and things like that.
Hmm.
And it definitely helped me. It definitely taught me about mead for sure.
Yeah. Meat is awesome.
It is. I have mead now. It's not in the tea that
Oh,
I'm
you're
drinking
lucky.
today, but I have this mead called Odin's Skull, which is quite delicious. And honestly, it's been a wonderful thing to put in your teas
I
on a
just
cold
I'll drink
night.
it even straight. It's just
Oh
nice to
no,
drink straight.
it's great. It's nice to drink straight, but it's also a great flavor additive for your tea as well.
The only
But
place I can ever get it is like at the Renaissance Fair. Like I've never seen it in a liquor store anywhere.
oh, they have it at the liquor store up the street from me.
Oh, well, you live in Brooklyn where there's freaking culture. I live in the no like the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, what is this one? Odin's Skull. It's Nordic honey wine um with honey, sour apple juice, hops, and cinnamon. It's really delicious.
Yeah. I
And it's not that expensive either. It's about 30 bucks.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it's quite tasty.
I had a blackberry mead at the
Oh,
Renaissance Fair that was fucking delicious, and I wish I could get it because it was just so good. It was so nice.
that
And
sounds amazing.
yeah, meat is awesome. The whole like Viking culture and pagan
It's
roots and stuff. It's just there's something magical about it, and there's really something like makes you feel like connected to like the old days.
it
Um,
does. It's also it's a neat history lesson, and
yeah,
it isn't just you listen to like the difference between Viking metal and other forms of music is like we're getting to is that it makes you want to go and experience that culture and it makes you want to
yeah.
learn more about that culture.
And it takes you
And
to that place in a way. Like,
yes,
if you're sitting there in the middle of a pit rowing with a cup of beer in your hand or a mead, if you're like, at a fancy place that serves mead, like it's like you're transported back into like the the old days, the Viking times, and it's just, it's a really cool way to like experience history.
it is. It's also the perfect music to listen to in the winter because I mean, I don't like winter at all.
Yeah.
It's it's not great for me, but when I go for a walk and I put on anything from Bathory to Amon Amarth to, I guess, Falcon Wrath will become a regular part of my musical repertoire now.
Yeah.
It makes me feel a lot better
Yeah.
when I'm walking on a cold day listening to that stuff. I'm not really sure why.
Oh, it's
I
the
guess
same.
it's
If
I
you
guess it's
listen to,
just the theme. I guess it's just
yeah,
it's the right theme for the time.
black metal too is good for that.
Yeah.
It's you, I feel like there has to be you have to come from a really cold climate to write Viking or black metal. It's
Oh
like
yeah, for sure.
it just fits with where it came from.
Well,
I
they're
think
in
that's
Norway and Scandinavia, so there you go.
yeah, but yeah, it's great. It's a really fun genre. Um, Maybe eventually we could get into more depth with it with some of the different bands, but
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really talk much about Burzum, but we did also, but which Burzum also was another heavy influence in the Viking metal
yeah,
scene,
but Burzum is
but
complicated
not
to talk about.
it's yeah, I it's not even one of those you can't even separate the
We
art
don't
from
want to
the
get
artist
canceled.
because
Yeah,
it's no, you can't because it's the same thing and it's
it
not
is.
very good. It's pretty bad.
I
Varg is I will like all I'll say that's all that I'm going to say about it is that Burzum had
we should do an
also a
episode
whole
on Burzum because I have opinions on Burzum.
okay. I don't
So
know if that's
maybe in the
I don't
future
know
we'll do a Burzum episode.
I hope it's not bad for the show your whatever your opinions are.
No, 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 no.
Okay. No, obviously, I'm making a joke for the
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
No, but yeah, all I'm going to say is that Burzum had an influence in this too, and we'll leave it at that.
yes. And maybe one day we'll talk about Burzum.
Maybe one day we'll sit down in a group therapy session and talk about Burzum.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
that's a complicated. Yeah, we have to navigate that
yeah,
carefully
it's
so we
it's
don't get canceled.
it starts with. Can you even get canceled anymore in this
Yes.
political climate?
I
I
don't
don't.
know.
Well, I'm not gonna try.
You probably get shot now in this political
Yeah.
climate. Let's face it.
Yeah, probably. I won't be well, I won't be testing those waters,
Yeah.
but it started with Bathory and Falkenbach and it's turned into so many different things. It's just
Yeah.
it starts from black metal and then it just becomes its own thing and then you get folky and pagany and
Hmm.
pirate like because a pirate's life for me and
Yep.
Vikings too. So, which I guess you could say the pirates were the little brother of the Vikings the whole time anyway.
Arguably, Vikings were pirates.
Well,
They just
were,
want to land more.
but the Vikings were cooler.
Yeah.
I think they were cooler.
So who would win in a fight, Vikings or pirates? That's the question.
Well, the Vikings don't have guns.
That's true.
That could be the difference maker.
I would say the Vikings would fight if they got into melee range. They would definitely probably win in a melee fight.
Yeah, but ranged
But
battles, the
but
pirate.
yeah, that would be difficult for them to get into melee range because first of all, pirate ships were faster. They were more well designed because they're newer than Viking ships. A, B, they also had black powder and cannons.
Yeah,
So that would like tear right through a Viking longship.
they were also lighter. Their ships.
Yeah,
So I on
more
sea.
maneuverable.
Yep, on sea the pirates win. On land the Vikings would probably take it.
Yeah, because,
But it would
because
have to be in close combat. But
well, the
with
pirates only had muskets and like musket pistols, so they had
that's
one shot.
true.
If they missed, then
Yeah, that's
sword fight
true.
time.
Yeah, it wasn't like Blackbeard was pulling up with he wasn't pulling up
Like
with like
AK-47
yeah,
or something.
I couldn't find the Rolodex of guns in my head. But
See, now
yeah,
that this is the thing. This is the good
yeah, it's
idea for a movie is you have a time travel that goes back and gives Blackbeard an AK-47.
yeah, and then Eric the Viking and then Eric the Red just
Eric
rolls
the Red.
up. Eric the Red just, rolling down the street in his 6 foe, jocking the bitches, slapping the hose. But yeah,
Also, shout out to Vikings for being the first Europeans in America. Screw you,
hell,
Columbus.
hell
Leif
yeah,
Erikson. Leif Erikson was the first European in America
yes. We should.
that
I
we
know
know of.
we should be celebrating Leif Erikson Day
Yeah.
instead of any other holiday. We should be celebrating Leif Erikson Day. Then
Happy Leif Erikson Day. Hinga
Inga
dinga
dinga
durga.
durgan. All right. On that note, do we have anything else that we need to add about Viking metal besides you folks should really check it out and listen to this stuff?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Well, you should check this out and listen to this stuff.
Yeah.
This has been Why Does This Exist? I've been Chris.
And I've been Rob.
And remember, question everything.
Good night.